Hello and welcome to Healing Humanity, the Power of a Proper Human Diet with Kerry. And I have a special guest today here from Carnivore Soldier, Larry. How are you doing?
Good, man. All right, all right, all right. Carnivore Soldier coming at you from Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Love it. So, Carnivore Soldier, I guess I'm looking forward to talking to you more, learning more about your story. We've talked briefly in the past. I love what you're doing over there. I did this big depression video and I reached out to all my friends. I said, if you know anyone that's gone through mental health issues and had a turnaround on eating the proper human diet, let me know. And Larry sent me a couple clips and then I've been watching your channel on and off for a while now. I've really enjoyed your reviews, your movie reviews, your documentary reviews. I've seen most of those already, but I'm looking forward as we proceed with our documentary, sharing some of that with you and getting your advice, because a lot of your reviews, they're right on. Like you're saying the same stuff I'm thinking about some of those movies. So I've got Larry's channel in the description below. So I just wanted to mention that first. You also have a website, carnivoresoldier.com. So links to all of that in the description below if you want to learn more from Larry. But yeah, I wanted to learn more about your story, Larry, and then what you're doing on your channel. So maybe we could start out talking a little bit more about that. Maybe even before, like, could you maybe tell us a little bit about your life before discovering the carnivore diet?
Yeah, let me give you a little background because my channel is, I mean, it's for everyone. It's for all people non-carnivore, but it's kind of geared, focused towards veterans and first responders. And I'm going to go into that later. But my background is as a veteran / first responder. So I started out joining the Navy, serving on submarines for 6 years during the Cold War from 1984 to 1990, because I'm pretty old. Even though I don't look as old as I am, I'm old. So 84 to 90, I served on fast attack submarines going against Ivan and the Soviets and the Arctic missions. We did North Sea, Japan, that kind of stuff. Then I got out, went into .coms, went into IT stuff for a while. And then when the .com crash happened, I went to work for San Mateo Police Department. So I went to law enforcement and I actually did their computer stuff. I stood up their 911 system, set them up with new laptops and all their vehicles, and worked alongside them with a lot of cybercrime stuff, worked with detectives. So I did a lot of law enforcement stuff, not as a peace officer, but I did go to the academy and I was going that route, but I got hired away again. So then I went from there back into .com stuff. And then the planes hit the building, right? And when the planes hit the building, I was in my mid 30s. I still had gas in the tank, and the war started, and I went into the Army National Guard, and that's where I retired from. So I did 15 years in the Army National Guard, 14.5 years after 6 years. So I did 20 and a half, maybe 21 years about total service. And in the Army National Guard, I retired out as a chief warrant officer in Signal Corps. I changed MOSs or jobs several times in there. So I have a fairly extensive background of working with law enforcement, first responders, and of course, the military. So that's my background. And then here's the deal. I didn't retire from the Army National Guard until 2019. Well, in 2017, I think I hit 50 in 2016. I hit 50 years old in 2016. And all of a sudden my body didn't respond to exercise like it used to. Like when I was in college, I was an athlete. I played lacrosse, I played rugby. When I was in the military, I was athletic. I always maintained my body in a good state. I thought, I was pretty athletic. And I knew how it responded to exercise, and it stopped responding. It just did. And injuries started piling up, and I couldn't even run. In 2017, I was no longer able to run or keep the Army standard for my last 2 years in the Army. So basically, I had what they call a walking profile. Anyone in the military will know what that is, where I couldn't run anymore. So I had to basically, like a force march, a speed walk for 3 miles to get through my PT test. And that was a major psychological hit when you can't do the stuff you used to do, when you're not, a PT stud out there anymore. It is, you feel like less of a man, less of a soldier, that kind of stuff. And so my last 2 years, I could not even, I hadn't run since 2017 until I found the carnivore diet, actually. So I didn't find the carnivore diet till 2022. In 2022, I had been out. I retired in 2019. Then the disease hit, so I was locked down, and I put on a huge amount of weight. I went from when I got out of the Army, I was about 255 or 256. By March, I was 280, and no motivation. I was sad and depressed. I couldn't work out anymore. I really did. If I did, I didn't get any results. I could do the same workout and get no results. I couldn't run anymore. Cardio. I bought a rowing machine. I did that for a while, but still no results. So I was really depressed. I thought, well, this is it. This is what getting old is. This is I'm on the downward slope the rest of my life. I just hopefully will live long enough to see my son graduate college and get married and maybe even meet a grandkid if I'm super lucky. That's the way I felt, you know, if I don't get cancer, because that was always in the back of my mind. So anyway, then I'm just on, like you, I was on the internet looking at YouTube, trying to find parts for a Jeep, because I'm a Jeep guy. Most military guys like Jeeps and trucks, so I'm a Jeep guy. I'm working on my Jeep, and I see the Dante Ferrigno crazy video of 127 days lion diet or whatever. I'm like, this is BS. It can't be. So I watched it, and I'm like, well, okay, that was bad, and he's off it now, obviously, because that was old. So I looked at a new video, and he looked better than he did then. I'm like, no way, this guy's still doing it. And he also, his whole demeanor had changed. He looked like it. He spoke like a different person. He moved like a different person. Everything was different, and I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. But I still didn't really believe it. But I thought, well, I'm going to research it. And then I searched for carnivore diet, and of course, Dr. Berry pops up, and I already knew him, right? I already knew him because when I was in the Army, one thing I did realize is when I was getting ready for a school, I would do a keto diet, and I would do Dr. Berg and Dr. Berry. Those two guys were the keto specialists back then, right? This is like before, way back. And Dr. Berry, I knew he knew his stuff, and I knew he wasn't fake. And when I saw him do carnivore, I was like, well, this has got to be legit then. And then I just went down the rabbit hole with Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, and I was like, okay, this is real. So that was my introduction to carnivore. And then, I basically made the decision, being an Army guy, I like to make a plan and then proceed as though success is inevitable. That's what I like to do. And so I decided I was going to be like Cortez and just burn my ships. When Cortez came to the New World with 600 soldiers, he burned his ships in the harbor, and they conquered the Aztec nation with 600 soldiers. And I'm like, that's what's going to happen. So I was going to do this 100%, and it was going to work or it wasn't, but it wasn't because I didn't try hard or do the 100% commitment. So that's where I started.
It's so crazy hearing your story. It's exactly the same as mine. Dante Ferrigno. I said, Larry, I said the same thing you did. This guy is crazy. I've told Dante that to his face before. I'm like, I thought you were nuts. Like, oh yeah, you're going to eat meat. And the thing was, I, like you too, I had done keto before. I knew about keto before. So in my head, I'm like, man, it makes sense. Like the science makes sense, but how the heck are you going to just eat meat and only meat? It's not sustainable. You're going to get bored. It's insane. And I did the same thing you did. I'm like, oh crap, this video is 2 years old. I said to my wife, I'm like, there's no way he's still doing this thing 2 years later. Fast forward. Let's find the most recent video. Watch the first video. It's the same thing you said. You couldn't even recognize him, but his demeanor, his mood, his attitude, like different, like a completely different person. And then just like you, I'm like, still crazy. I got to do more research. And then I went down the Dr. Berry rabbit hole and watched every one of his videos. That's so crazy. The crazy thing with that, Larry, too, is I've been so fortunate. Like some of my YouTube videos, I've been talking to so many people. I hear that combination. That's like the 1-2 punch. Dante, Dr. Berry. I hear it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Man, Dante, those guys are life changers to so many people. It's Dante, Dr. Berry, or it's Dr. Jordan Peterson, Dr. Berry. It's almost always Dr. Berry's in there, but that's the two. How long ago was it that you started carnivore?
I was going to say, I think we did at the same time because mine was March 22nd. You're a few days ahead of me.
That's right. Insane.
You're somewhere in March. So it's probably the same.
Today is my day 300 on the head. I think I'm like 2 days before you or something like that.
Yeah. So because I remember seeing you and I'm like, oh, this guy, because I did see your video. I thought, oh, this guy's been on about as long as I have. So I started following you because of that. It really made, let me see what mine is. But yeah, that was something that was interesting. And so I started following you like, well, let's see what his results are. Cause I'm doing mine and we're kind of doing the same time. I didn't have a YouTube channel till August. So I was like, I couldn't compare videos or anything, but I did follow your, I'm at 298. See, I'm 2 days behind you, bro.
Wow.
That's crazy, right?
Same time, same path, same everything.
Same results. Wait,
yeah.
It must be a coincidence.
Right. Well, speaking of results, so you've lost a bunch of weight, but can you tell us a little bit more? Like, what have you experienced besides the weight loss?
Yeah. So the weight loss was amazing. In the first 5 months, I lost 246 pounds. 46 pounds. I lost 46 pounds. So I went from 280 to 234. So I went down to 234, and which is what I weighed in college, right? When I was playing sports. I also put on muscle while I was doing that, and I wasn't really even working out. I was just walking the dog. I wasn't doing push-ups or anything. I was just walking the dog, and then I did maybe 20 minutes a week of band exercises, like 2 10-minute sessions. That's all I did.
Same for me.
And I walked the dog, and that's all. I had an X3 system, which is a band exercise, and it's light on the joints. So I started doing that, and I lost all this weight, and that was amazing and exciting for me because I felt more like a man again. Like I'm like, okay, I can go out in person. I can get a picture taken. You know, now I can like take my shirt off. I'm like, yeah, I don't give a rip, man. I'll go to the pool, go to the beach, whatever. Let's rip it off. Boom, right? And then it's like I'm going to the gym again. I'm like, yeah. But anyway, so I that was the immediate, I guess dopamine hit. It was a major dopamine hit. I was like, man, that's cool. But then I started realizing things were changing in me. Like I don't take allergy pills, and I just forgot to do that one day. I had a regimen where I'd wake up. I always had a handkerchief next to my bed, so I blow my nose throughout the night and in the mornings usually, and then I go straight to the cabinet in the kitchen, get my allergy pill. I had those huge Costco pills that are, the huge bottles that are like 300 pills for $50 or whatever. I don't know. And I take one of those every day, and then I come in here and blow my nose in the office for another 20, 30 minutes, and then I'd be good for the rest of the day. But I stopped doing that, and I was like, I was like, oh, I forgot to go get my pill. Well, I don't need it because I haven't even changed my napkin. I mean, no, my handkerchiefs out. They're clean. They're sitting there not being used. And it was just really weird. That was one thing. And then I would say my arthritis went away. I had arthritis in my thumbs really bad. So I bought a special mouse that's at an angle so I could do this. I don't need that anymore. My other computer, I have a regular mouse again. I had done all kinds of things. I was dreading getting surgery because everyone said you need surgery if you get that. And I was like, okay, I need surgery. Also, my ankle, I have service-related disability. My ankle's an injury, my shoulder's an injury, and I couldn't run. Right, that's part of the reason I couldn't run. My ankle would swell up. It would get hot. It would keep me up at night after running even a mile. Now I'm out running sprints with my son, and I thought I'd never run again the rest of my life. I thought by the time before, April of 2022, I thought, well, I'll never run again. That's just not going to happen. I haven't run since 2017. I can't physically do it. And now I'm running sprints. I'm lifting in the gym again. I would say that my GERD's gone, my IBS is gone, all my hemorrhoids gone, all my digestive stuff totally normalized, completely 100%. And then here's the other thing: I wake up in the morning, I am ready to go, man. I'm looking for things to do. I'm like, what can I do? I jump up, like, boom. I'm like, all right, what am I going to do first? I go hit the kitchen, let's do some cleaning or whatever. I go run to my office, start doing some emails, and I just do stuff right away. And I, even without coffee, which is great because I was a major coffee drinker. So there's so many little things, so many non-scale victories. And I really like to focus on those because the scale is the worst indicator of success in this. I think it will happen. You will lose weight, but really losing weight's not what we want. Losing fat, we want to gain muscle and gain bone density. So we really want not to lose weight. We want to change body dimensions, right? And body, I guess, composition is what we really want. So I like to focus on non-scale victories. In fact, I have a planning guide on my website that people can download. And in that planning guide, it's the first 30, 60, 90 days. And it has metrics that you take, and none of them are weight. It's like, how do you feel when you wake up? Are you going outside and getting sunlight? Are you taking walks? Are you in nature? Things that, try to motivate people to go do different things. That's what I do now. I like going outside, getting some sunlight, and and I was more of a couch potato, and now my couch is totally neglected. That poor thing. It just doesn't get used like it used to, unless there's a hockey game on, which is exactly the only reason I watch it. I sit there usually.
That's amazing. What about on the mental side?
Yeah, mental. That's even bigger. So all the physiological, all the physical stuff was amazing. But the other thing was, and this is something else that just melted away that I didn't realize till after. And one was my anxiety dropped down. Like I can go into crowds now. And in the military, anyone's been in the military knows you don't like crowds. You don't like that. Yeah. I can get up in front of people and talk, no problem. I mean, I could do that before in a professional thing, but like I had a meetup yesterday with a bunch of strange people that are all carnivores. They came there and I was able to, talk to them, no problem. They all really enjoyed what we talked about. So that was good. So I have no stress or anxiety. Stress levels, I can handle stress much better. And then depression, my depression's pretty much gone away. I think Christmas morning I had a little bit for like a couple hours. It was just me and Duke here, and there was, my son wasn't here, so I was kind of alone. I felt a little depression come on, but you know what? It just went away. Like it was a wave that just passed over. Where I think before I would have depression that would last for days and even weeks sometimes, and that's again why I'm started my channel, was to reach out to other veterans and first responders, because I know we're the warrior class, and the warrior class doesn't like to ask for help or show weakness. So we internalize a lot of stuff, and that's one of the things we all typically internalize. We don't like to go talk to even our friends and say, "Hey, I'm depressed." That's not something we would say, right?
Right.
So that's not what we talk about.
And can you speak a little bit to, I guess, depression, anxiety in terms of folks in the military and the services? Like, do you have any stats or like?
Yeah. I have suicide stats, and I think that's important. So, I mean, we all have heard that 22 veterans a day take their lives. And that doesn't include any first responders. And I guarantee you, you talk to some of these first responders. I mean, we know some in our community, Sean White, right, who was suicidal. And they're out there suffering in silence. That's a fact. So the 22 a day does not include the state of Texas or the state of California, which arguably have the largest communities of veterans in the world, or in America. And the other thing it doesn't include is people that overdose, and they count them as drug addict overdose. Well, really, I think a majority of them may be self-medicating, and overdose is their way out, right? So those don't get counted as suicide either a lot of times. So you talk about those huge numbers, and then you look at we didn't have a Veterans Administration before I think the Korean War. So I think after the Korean War, the Veterans Administration. So all we have is active duty suicides to look at going back, because we didn't have veterans being tracked. And in World War II, the veterans committed suicide were 5 per 100,000. That was typical, 5 per 100,000 per year, which was bad, but not terrible. By Korea, it was still 5, and then Vietnam, it went up to 17 per 100,000. Right, Vietnam, this is coming up towards the end of the 70s, right? Early 60s, end of 70s. And I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking those numbers are probably stacked more towards the end, and I'll get into why in a minute. And then you go into the modern wars, right? We have Desert Storm, Desert Shield, which I'm one of those guys, and then of course Afghanistan, Iraq after that, OEF, OIF, and Enduring Freedom. Anyway, so those are the other operations, and now we're up to over 22 to 27 out of 100,000. Now it's up to 27, I believe. So that number keeps going up, right? So the Army's done a lot of studies on this, and they know that the same people commit suicide for the same reason now as they did back in World War II. It's relationships, it's money, it's legal problems, and it's addiction, right? Those are the things that are and then there's always a trigger, and a trigger could be retirement or separation from service. You go from being a high-speed person in a team who's valued to, here you go find a job, and you're on your own. You don't have a team anymore. You have no more battle buddies, and you're just out there. And they give you a 2-week course. Here's how to write a resume. Good luck, and check to the VA for your stuff. So yeah, I tell you what, the suicides, I believe what's happened is that that they're still caused by the same thing, and the number one cause of the suicide the Army determined was untreated depression. Okay, so the untreated depression must be greater. If you look at, if that's the number one cause, right? All these are incidents that can trigger it. Those are all triggers, right? But the actual cause, they say, is untreated depression. So if you look at that must have gotten worse. And if you look at the timeline, that happened about the same time they came out with the food pyramid, right? 78, Vietnam was getting out. And I have friends that work at the VA that are nurses, and they tell me that the Korean War and World War II vets fared much better than the Vietnam and post-era vets, just health-wise, general health, because they were eating more of the square meal, whole foods, less processed foods back then. And throughout, they're more likely to eat steak and eggs and breakfast, and steak for dinner or whatever, or lamb. That's what they ate. I grew up in that era. So I think that what's happened is there's a fulcrum, and that fulcrum has shifted, and that fulcrum shifted with diet. And what happens is now people can't, and this is based on my experience of how I handle anxiety and stress now. I handle it much better now. Like, I am much less stressed out. I handle anxiety better. If I'm, confronted with something, I can just deal with it a lot better. And I think what happens is, if you're on the standard American diet, you're more likely, especially if you have a low cholesterol, low fat diet, you're more likely to, choose that permanent solution for a temporary problem. And that's what we're seeing. I think that's what we're seeing. And it's not just them, it's first responders too. I mean, police officers don't have a great track record after they retire or separate from service. I know that personally too. There's a lot of them that take their lives. And I'm sure firefighters and EMTs, same thing. I would venture a guess. And, they see a lot of terrible stuff daily, more than soldiers do, arguably.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a sad thing. And we're seeing it elsewhere too. I was privileged to interview Dr. Georgia Eid. She's written a book. We're going to be doing a live stream later in the month. She's a psychiatrist, and I was asking her more about depression and mental health. And she's like, it's grim. It's grim right now. Just college students, I think it's like 41% of college students are diagnosed with depression, anxiety rates. And you're absolutely right. Everyone will say, well, correlation isn't causation or anecdotal, whatever. You look on a chart, just like you said, the food pyramid, standard American diet, increase in processed foods and seed oils and sugar, and it's all going up at the same rate as depression and anxiety and all these other health issues too. It's all just perfectly correlated with that number, but no, that's not it. Look somewhere else.
I grew up in a time when there was no road rage. Believe it or not, that really didn't exist in the 60s and 70s when I was a kid. And I'd never heard of it, That's why that movie, there's a movie, I'm able to do a thing on that, Falling Down, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that was a shock. Like, oh my gosh, he just flipped out, and went postal. Going postal wasn't a thing back then. The school shootings weren't a thing back then. They weren't. There's a lot of things that weren't a thing back then that are now. And I think a lot of it has to do with pharmacological and food industries. Whether it's SSRIs or food or whatever they're giving these people, they're making terrible decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. I always try to simplify things. And I think if we really simplify it, it's like as humans, as we're getting further and further away from what is natural for humans, whether it's our diet or our medication or getting sunlight or sitting under fluorescent lights all day, exercise, staring at these all day. It's like the further we get away, the sicker we're getting. It's really that simple. Depression, anxiety, heart disease, it's all going up the further and further away we get from what's natural for humans. So we've been doing carnivore about the same amount of time now. You mentioned your son. How's your family like take this? Were they like, was your son like, Dad, you're crazy? Or
yeah, I'm divorced, so it's just me and then him when I have him every other weekend and month in the summer. So he saw me make awesome gains, and that was last year. And I had him that July coming up, and he said, "Hey, Dad, you think it'll heal my foot?" Because he had an injury from soccer, and he's 14. And I didn't force him. I kept a shelf open for him. When I say I burned the ships, I burned the ships for me. I dumped out everything that was non-carnivore except for one shelf full of stuff for him. But I did throw out Pop-Tarts and all that stuff. I did have some mac and cheese, some buns for hamburgers and stuff, some baked beans, that kind of stuff. I had some stuff for him. But he said, I'd like to try the carnivore then. And so in July, he went hard, 100% carnivore that month and had a hard time, energy-wise. It was tough for him. Yeah. But he made it through. And then he went back to his mom, and with his mom, he's like, well, how do I continue this, Dad? And I was like, well, just do like a ketovore. Just ask for double portions of meat, pick around at your vegetables, don't eat any bread, and eat no sugar and no processed bars, none of that stuff. And he's like, okay. So that's what he's done with her. And when he's with me, it's ribeye, burger, whatever, hot dogs, I'll give him. And he's doing great. He in cross country this year, he took 3 minutes off his 3-mile time and placed in his first race and made PRs on every race and beat guys he'd never beaten before.
Wow.
And then in soccer, the last weekend of the season, he had a tournament. He played 3 games and didn't sub out one time and just played the whole game. And he said, Dad, I don't get tired anymore.
I don't get tired. I hear crazy, that. Right? I hear that all the time too. Like, I don't know the science behind it, but I hear that all the time from carnivores. I don't get tired anymore. My friend Jeff DeProsperous, he's got 2 boys, both that's all they do is sports. They've been doing sports the whole time, and they were doing sports before carnivore, and now
Yeah.
both of them as carnivores, and they say the same thing. I said to Jeff, I was like, "Do you feel guilty at all that your two carnivore boys are just tearing up the field?" There's like it's like no competition for them anymore. He's like, "Nope, not at all." But yeah, they
Yeah.
don't. They say the same thing. They don't get tired.
Even me, I go in the gym now, and I started lifting the same. This is my dog, my service dog Duke back here. I do the same workout routine I did in college now, but I don't get really tired. I just run out of time, so I got to finish these sets up, and I got to go. But I could keep going if I don't know if I get tired. I haven't worked out long enough, but in college I'll get tired.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's different. It's a different feeling.
Right. Well, can we talk a little bit more now about your YouTube channel and some of the work you've been doing there? So I mentioned briefly we did a depression video, and you sent me a few clips from some vets that you had talked to, and those were incredible. I guess can you talk a little bit more about that and your mission over there?
Yeah. So like I said, we are like the warrior class, right? And we feel the most comfortable talking to other people who've been there, done that. So no disrespect to any people that have not been a first responder or military, but it's just different if you have a bond. It's kind of like, how you and I are carnivores. We have so much in common. We click immediately, right? Just because
Right.
on our carnivore bond. Well, that's the same. You have a different level, a different type of click with the military, but it's the same. So I can meet a veteran almost anywhere, and we will click because we've been through the same stuff. And I think that comes from the fact that, I like to say that different from a civilian job, we actually take real sacrifices together, and we take real risks together when we serve. Okay, whether you're a first responder or law enforcement, that's the way it is, and that makes a bond. So, I thought that I shared this with my neighbor next door, and he was a vet, and he saw amazing results. And I thought, man, I wonder if this would be the first time in my whole career that I have a real tool that I could help people who are depressed, who are suicidal, who are suffering in silence, because this actually works. I've seen it on me, and I've seen it on him, and I've seen other videos of people who weren't necessarily. I saw Sean White, and he's a first responder, so I was like, maybe this will work. So I thought I'm just going to start this YouTube thing and figure it out. I had, if you watch my first videos, it's pretty terrible. I had no idea what I was doing. I know you already had a YouTube channel, so you kind of had it going. I did not. I was like, what am I doing? I'm just going to figure out and start talking. And I'm like, hi, I am a robot. And, like in the beginning is really terrible, but it didn't matter because the message was, heartfelt, and it was honest, and it's the way it is. And that's the way I deliver it. The bottom line up front. I'm just going to tell you the way it is. But because I have that delivery, and because I have 20 years of experience, 25 with law enforcement, working police department, I connect with a lot of people on different levels, and they feel free to open with me. I have people email me like, hey, I'm having these problems. I'm doing this. And it's fantastic. It's I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed nutritionist. I'm none of this stuff. But what I can be is a battle buddy. I can say, hey, listen, I'd watch Dr. Barry for that and do this for this. But, I can definitely 100% feel fully confident that if I get them to try a carnivore diet, it'll make a difference. It will. It may not cure it, but it'll make a difference in the positive direction. Because what happened to me, I mean, my depression's gone, my anxiety's gone, all that. I've talked to so many soldiers whose PTSD has been, it's always going to be there, but it has been tamed. What I'm saying? It's like under control, just like your cravings. Your cravings will always be there. You'll always be a sugar addict or whatever. The same kind of thing. The PTSD, the anxiety can always be there, but you have control over it. It's empowering. It's very empowering. And this is a message we need to get out because, like I said, the people that are next door neighbors or brothers or sisters that are veterans, they may look totally fine. And that's because they are internalizing, and in all likelihood, they're suffering in silence. And this is a way out. And before this, the only thing this is all I had was I'd send an email out like on Christmas season or Memorial Day saying, hey, if you need someone to talk, I'm here. Here's my number. Call me, and hope someone will call me and wonder if they were suffering or not, or if they were, going through, if they're getting drunk or whatever they're doing. But now I feel like I have a real tool that I can be proactive, right? I can actually do something and say, this actually works. And I tell you what, veterans love this because veterans don't like going to doctors. They don't like going to counselors. They don't like sharing with strangers stuff. But if you can say, hey, why don't you try this out? You can fix it yourself. Give it a shot. 30 days is all it takes, and the veteran can do anything for 30 days. We hurry up and wait all day long, every day. 30 days is no big deal. And once you set your mind to it and you knock that out, then it changes your world.
That's amazing. Here, I got to agree with our friend Brett, who's your carnivore. Hey, everyone, really love what Larry's doing for our soldiers. Yeah, 100%. It's like you said, you're not a doctor like Dr. Barry, but there's something more powerful in the fact that you've been in their position, you're practicing what you preach, and it's working for you. It's those documented stories are so important and will resonate with other people. Like my story on there, you could send on my channel, like, oh, whatever, this is some crazy guy, but you have been in their spot before. They can relate to you more. That's just amazing. Let me see.
Yeah, this is all about connecting with people. That's what it really is. And that's what you're great at, Kerry. It's about, that's what our meetup was yesterday, was actually connecting with people. That's the most important thing. And that's why this thing is a huge grassroots movement, but it is a movement. It is a revolution. This is what I talked to him yesterday. I said, in Texas, we have something called come and take it, right? And that's because the Mexican army wanted a cannon and the Texans said, come and take it. And they had to fight for it, right? And that's, hey, that's the way I am. This is our come and take it revolution moment, right? This is where we're going to stand our ground. This is the hill we're going to defend. And, you know, that's the way this is. And I tell you, this is, I like to also call it, liken it to the Galileo and Copernicus moment, where those guys said, you know what, the world's not the center of the galaxy. The science says different. But all the scientific experts and the scientific consensus and the governments all said, no, the world's the center of the galaxy. Everything rotates around it. And these guys were proven right, but it took years of defending their position. And that's what we're in for. And we need everyone to join the fight, including all the viewers. You don't have to be a YouTube channel, but you need to support YouTube content providers for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I'm always encouraging people. Hey, if you're thinking about doing YouTube, go for it. But yeah, if you don't, you got to elevate the voice. Like what Larry's doing, you got to get the message out. You got to share his videos. You got to send it to people. I was so like, the crazy thing with this is it's obviously so important for depression, mental health, for veterans like you're doing, Larry. But the more I'm learning about this, initially it was like, for the documentary I'm working on, Healing Humanity, it's like type 2 diabetes is crazy. People are reversing type 2 diabetes. Then it's obesity. Okay, that one's a given. Then you have women's health issues. People are able to have children when eating the proper human diet when they weren't able to other ways. And now the craziest thing for me is getting more and learning more about folks with cancer and how cancer is caused and how it's treated with metabolic therapy, and how just this one fact alone, chemo is so much more effective while in ketosis and fasting and doing metabolic therapy. It's bearable for so many people. My friend Jeff, he's like, I'm doing this for cancer. And he's like, oh my God, I overcame depression and anxiety too. And I feel better and I have energy and all these other things. It's so important for so many reasons. But I had Professor Thomas Seyfried on, who's just this brilliant cancer researcher from Boston College. I said, what do we do? Like, how do we fix this problem? Like anyone that gets cancer, they could do whatever treatment they want. But they should have this as an option. Like, hey, you could fast and do metabolic therapy like Jeff. And none of them do. I was like, how do we get this out? And he said exactly like you just did, Larry. He said the only way is grassroots, individuals talking about it, sharing about it, shouting about it, because the institutions, the hospitals, the colleges, they're never going to do it. There's no money to be made in.
Right.
And even some of it's like being cynical, but if there's no money to be made in it, everything's going to steer towards where the money is. There's no money to be made if everyone's doing carnivore, fasting, eating better, and getting healthier. So we got to definitely get the word out as individuals.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got the media is getting paid by these guys too. So the media is not going to break a story. Hey, breaking news, carnivore works, because if they did that, all the people, Pfizer and the food companies, Nabisco, all these guys, they're funding all this stuff, right? The alcohol companies, the coffee companies, all the plant-based addiction stuff, which every addiction known to man is pretty much plant-based. It's all being funded. It's a cartel, and it's funding the media, and the media is not going to put a message against. So there's no way to get out other than this way. So this is what we have to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, the media and then a lot of the studies in science that foolishly over the years, I used to see like a study and I'd be like, "Oh, that's there for my benefit." And now I'm like, "No, almost every one of those studies you go to the root of it and it's funded by someone because studies are very expensive. It's usually funded by Kellogg's or a cereal company or someone trying to sell something at the end of it, medication or
Yeah,
sugar or something like that." Um, Awesome. Well, hey, we got a lot of questions in here. I think I'm going to jump in. If you guys have a question for Larry, post one in the sidebar. I got one more question, and if there's anything else you want to mention too before we jump into some
yeah,
questions from the audience, your dog Duke is awesome. I saw him in the back
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Huge thank you again. You helped me out in another way. You sent me this little video about dog food. And
yeah.
I've been meaning to get my dogs on carnivore forever. I've been hemming and hawing about it. And I didn't know what to do. And Larry's just like, well, here, check out this little video. And that was all I needed to see. And now my
Yeah.
dogs have been carnivore. I'm bad with dates, but I think it's been like a month now. It's been close to 30 days. Both of my dogs are carnivore, and both of our cats are carnivore now as well.
Nice.
Thriving. Absolutely, there's without a doubt noticeably improved and different. Their fur is softer. They're wagging their tails. They're running around like puppies again, full of energy. It's just incredible. So, anyways, I just wanted to thank you. Someone just left a comment. They said, "Is Duke carnivore?"
Oh yeah, 100%. He's been carnivore since July, I think, and that's when I did that video. July or August, I think it's July. And he just had his checkup, and everything was perfect. And the vet's like, "Well, what are you feeding him?" I said, "Raw chicken and chicken livers every now and then." And she's like, "Well, I don't really like the raw diet." I said, "What's your problem with it?" She said, "Well, it's easier for them to get contaminated." I said, "Well, I'm handling that because I'm grinding all the food. It's all human based, and I'm freezing it directly, and I know how to handle food." And she goes, "Okay, then I'm fine with it." I said, "Good." So that's fine because that's what he should be eating, right? I mean, that's what dogs eat in the wild. They don't eat cooked sweet potatoes in the wild when they're on their own. Wolves don't run around eating rice, right? That's not what wolves eat. And wolves and dogs are so close to each other that they can breed and have offspring. That's genetic. That's being very close genetically. And wolves don't die of cancer. And the number one killer of dogs is cancer because they're
Mhm.
eating our food. And guess what? That's probably why we have so much cancer, right?
Right.
I guarantee it. I mean, it's crazy, but there you go. Yeah, that's way to go, man. Good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, the number one thing people have been telling me now, I say my dogs are carnivores, what you just said. Oh, did you feed them raw? That can't be good. I said the same thing. I'm like, what would a wild dog do in the
Yeah,
wild? Make a fire and cook a squirrel over the fire and then eat it? I'm like, that's the
right.
natural thing they eat. Yeah, they're just thriving. So yeah, Larry's got a great video on his channel too, making up the dog food for his dog. So definitely, if I didn't get my point across now, go check out Larry's channel, subscribe. You got all sorts of good stuff there. Should we jump in and answer some questions
Yeah,
here?
let's do it, man.
All right. Here we go from Kenny Paulson. Thank you for doing this and focusing on the support and how this way of eating can help those who serve. What can we do to reduce the stigma that first responders and military face in work and personal life?
You so the stigma that first responders. So are you talking about to reduce their stress, or I'm not sure what he's asking here, or she's what Kenny's asking. Thanks for focusing on how we can help. I would just say, they're going to run into the same problems regardless of what their diet is. Okay, you're still going to have people break up with you. You're still going to make bad decisions. You're still going to get injured. Things are going to happen in life. Like just for me, I just got injured a couple weeks, about 5 days ago, actually working, and things happen, but I can deal with it much better because I heal faster. My mind's working better. I can handle adversity. I don't get overwhelmed. I don't shut down. I don't go withdraw and isolate. I used to do that too. That's another thing veterans do. We isolate. We when we get to a point where we're hurting enough, we just don't want to go out in public because people are going to want to talk to us. And we don't want to talk to anyone. That's just the way. So we'll drink. We'll sit there or do drugs or whatever. And it could be drugs that the VA gives you, not necessarily illegal drugs. But that's something else we do. So that's something that changes on this diet. You want to engage with people. I want to be here with Kerry talking to him. I want to meet him. I want to meet these people I went yesterday to go see in Rudy's Barbecue in Round Rock, Texas. So, I mean, these are things that typically I would not want to do. So I would say what you can do, what I would do is if you have friends or family that are first responders and military, definitely get this message out. Share my videos out. Share videos with Dr. Barry. I mean, they may like mine better because I'm a, you know, and I can steer them towards Dr. Barry, and that's what I'll do, and Dr. Chafee. But definitely show them other people that are successful, and that's my Mission Carnivore playlist is uh, dedicated to interviews with veterans and first responders who have changed their lives positively through carnivore. So there's a lot of people there. There's Air Force guys, there's Navy guys, there's Army guys and girls, there's first responders, all these people that have turned their life around and completely changed, and you know, mental and physical health, mostly mental. That's the biggest one. You talk to any of them, including me, if I had to give up anything but one thing, mental health would be the thing I'd hold on to, and I give the rest away if I had to, because I feel like for me, I'm actually planning a future now instead of just riding to my death, which I thought it was, right? I thought I was like on the slow decline or not so slow decline to death. And like you said with the cancer, I don't even fear cancer anymore. I don't fear it. I'm like, well, I probably have lower chances of getting it now because I'm eating proper human diet. But if I do get it, I know I can treat it. And effectively, I don't have to do the standard care. I can do a modified, or even just like DC, David Charles, DC Learning to Live, I could just take a glutamine inhibitor and, you know, eat no carbs, and that'll probably put it in remission. I mean, it's pretty amazing. There's so many tools out there. I'm not in fear anymore.
I love that. I love what you said too about you're not worried about talking to people. You want to talk to people now. Same thing for me, and it was the opposite before. I was thinking about this more yesterday. It's like I think the vast majority of the public is that way. They don't want to talk to people. They want to take the easiest path possible. And I'm not shaming them. That was me too. And it's like you're sick, you're fatigued, you got brain fog, you're tired, you're eating crappy food, your body's just like barely, you're putting some fuel in, but you're barely puttering along. So you don't have the energy to want to go talk to other people. Imagine if everyone was eating like we were, Larry. Could you imagine just the connections and how the world would be?
That's my dream. My dream is to have, I was a platoon leader for 2 years, and my dream would be to have a platoon of carnivore soldiers, and how amazing they'd be, motivational, you know, physically fit, capable of accomplishing any mission, just a positive attitude, things that, you know, that only your best few soldiers have now. You could have like a whole platoon of amazing soldiers and see what they could do. I would love to do that. And I've talked to my old command. I've got no response so far, but I'm offering to go in and give like counseling, even though I'm not certified or anything. I'm just like, hey, listen, I've been there. I can help them get better scores on their PT test. I can help them lose weight. I can help them get better motivation, and we'll see what happens. But if we could get one platoon to do it, holy cow, it would be amazing, right? Yeah,
right.
But you're right. Everyone's doing it. I mean, when I grew up, I knew all my neighbors, and my parents knew all my neighbors. They all, now when I was even back in the .com days in the 2000s and 2010, people just drive home, open the garage, drive in, close the garage, and turn on Netflix. They don't even go out. They don't talk to the neighbors very often. The only neighbors you know by name are the ones you can't stand, right? That's why you don't like. That's why you know their name. Right. If they're nice, you just like, they're nice people. But there's no connection, right? And this is all connection. This is all about connection. For
sure. Carnivore Boss said, Larry, my daughter was stoked to see you commented on my video about her carnivore journey. Awesome.
Nice.
333 Jim, shout out to all military and first responders here. Thank you for our freedom.
Thank you.
Welshie, question, how many pounds of meat do you eat a day? Sugar is a real addiction. I've lost 40 pounds, but really struggling with the temptation of sugar.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
So I will, it depends on the day. If I'm working out, I might eat 2 ribeyes, and that's a little over 2 pounds. If I'm not working out, I might eat 3/4 pound to a pound of beef, and maybe ground beef. And I won't eat as much. And it's strange, at 6'3", 234 pounds, I'm a big guy, but the meat is so nutrient dense, right? I just listened to my body, and I learned that once I got out of the sugar addiction, I could really trust my hunger signals and eat whenever I'm hungry. I don't have this construct of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? That doesn't exist in my world. The only time it does is when I'm doing a social thing, like an eat breakfast or with my son, or eat, that's a social thing. But I just listen to my body and eat when I'm hungry, and I eat until satiated. Like the next bite is a chore. I'm like, all right, I'm done. And then I eat fatty meats, and ruminant animals typically is what I like to try to do. So that's the pounds of meat a day. I don't track any macros at all. Sugar is a real addiction. If you're having a problem with with sweet cravings right now, then you might still be doing, I would say, artificial sweeteners. Possibly, you might want to cut that and dairy out, and that may get rid of those. That's what I did, and it got rid of my cravings completely. But I will never reintroduce sugar to my life because I am not a moderator. I would binge. I would eat a whole thing of Oreos if someone gave it to me. And the minute they said Oreos were carnivore and they proved it scientifically, I'd be all the way in, man. Oreos and milk. If I could do that, for sure.
Yeah.
They're vegan, but they're not carnivore. So there you go. That tells you something, right?
I think we're all very similar. Very similar to you, Larry. I can't moderate whatsoever. If I have one little granule of sugar, I'm going off the rails. So I'm about the same as Larry too, about 2 pounds of meat. I don't even measure that. I just eat till I'm full. I don't think about it at all. But I totally agree with what Larry said on the sugar. I did a video a while back. Dr. Barry did one where he said some people have like a carb dial and they can have a little bit. They can have some berries. They can have some of this. I have a carb switch. It's off or on. I can't have one berry. I can't have anything. So I would look into that. I don't know how long you've been doing carnivore, but there's some people I know that do it. And like Larry said, they'll still have artificial sweeteners. Maybe they'll have Diet Coke or they'll have this or that. And if I had any of that, I would still be craving sugar. I don't have any of that. And once you get that out of your system, it's just a beautiful thing. I don't think about sugar at all. I don't have any cravings. You put a cupcake by me, it's not going to bother me at all. So I would check into that for sure. Hey, Carnivore Brothers, Larry and Kerry, great to meet you in Austin, Texas yesterday. I got to meet the Carnivore Brothers in Chicago at the first meetup we did. So it sounds like you got to meet them too.
Yeah.
Ashley and Red.
Ashley was there. Not only Ashley, because he's in Dallas. So he drove down and he came with his dad. And his dad's a carnivore too. And his dad lost a bunch of weight. And we had a great discussion. It was some really good barbecue and just good fellowship, man. That's what it was. It was good fellowship.
You guys, if you haven't checked them out, check out Carnivore Brothers. They're amazing. And you mentioned Ashley's dad. I smiled when you say that because we did that 24-hour live stream, I don't know, back in September. And I asked people to send me a video. And Ashley sent me a video. And in the video, he showed dad wearing his Boy Scout uniform. And he fit in it again. And it was I put a huge smile on everyone's face that watched it. It was such a cool. So Ashley's doing carnivore. Rhett's doing carnivore. They got dad doing carnivore. It's spreading like wildfire over there at the Carnivore Brothers household. So
I've got this ring. This ring here was a submarine warfare medal. It was a medal like your wings that you get on the submarines, right? And I had it made in '92. And I used to wear it all the time until about 2001, when one day I went to put it on, it wouldn't fit. And I thought, well, I'm just swollen. So I put it on a tray, and I never put it on again. And it sat in a cup because there's no way I could fit it until about 3 weeks ago. And 3 weeks ago, I was looking there. I was like, you know what? I'm down to my college weight. I wonder if I could put that in. I popped it right on, and boom, it's back. I was like, holy cow, I'm back.
I love that. Yeah, you were saying earlier you were worried if you're going to make it to your son's wedding. Yeah. Now you're like, you got a couple lives ahead of you at this point.
Yeah, I'm not even middle-aged yet. According to Chafee, I should be 120. So 60 is middle-aged. I got 3 more years. I'm 57. Well, 2 years in a couple months. I'll be 58 in May. So, yeah, I'm on my way to middle age. And I want to be like Maggie at 83 years old, jumping a fence and wrestling some bulls. I'm ready, man. That's why I'm in the gym now. I'm in the gym to put muscle on and get athletic again. I'm sprinting to get athletic again. And Dr. Amara convinced me. I'm like, all right, I'm a sprinter now.
I love that you mentioned Maggie. We filmed her out in Canada. I'm just been sitting on this footage because I can't show it on YouTube because it's going in the documentary, but jumping fences, stuff like that. Some of the stuff she did was just incredible. And the most incredible thing was, and I said to her, Maggie, you're 82. When are you going to slow down? And she looked right in the camera and she said, I'm just getting started. And there's no joking there. And I believe her 100% based on what I've seen. Her mind, her energy, everything. Like, she was putting me and Adam to shame. We're carnivores now. We're doing a lot more, but she's incredible. I can't wait to share some of her story more. Just getting started at 82 years old.
I want to keep the Ferrari at a finely tuned level and then just boom, one day be gone. That's what I want to do, like 100% all the way, and then bam. That's the way I want to end it.
Nice. Jill D asks, Larry, can you see yourself doing carnivore in years to come?
Oh yeah. This is a life change. It's okay. That's another thing I like to say is this is a life-changing event, right? There's not many of them in life. Becoming a father or a mother, that changes your identity. That's a life-changing event. I'm a Christian, so following Jesus, I became a Christ follower. That changed my identity. Getting out of a military school, I became a soldier or a sailor. That changed my identity. Those are life-changing events that carry forward the rest of you with you. And this is actually one of those. And that's why I like to say, You know, people come into this diet with the wrong idea. They think it's a diet, and they failed at every diet they've done before this. And how do I know that? 100% accuracy, because they're here. And if keto would have worked, they'd still be doing keto, right? If whatever the Southwest diet or whatever was working, they'd be doing that. But they're not. They're here at carnivore because everything's failed. And they think this is going to fail when they come in. I guarantee that's what I thought. I was like, well, it probably won't work, or it may not work. Is it real? You know, you got all the questions. But I think a lot of people, because they come into that with that mindset, they're tempted to cheat. They're tempted to, you know, to jump off and give themselves cheat meals and all this stuff. And I really don't like that. And I really think that this is the first vehicle in history that actually pays off when you put the work in 100%, if not more, probably 100, probably 200% more than the work you put in. And if you go into it with that, if that mindset, that's why I did the video on how not to fail the other day on carnivore, because people are failing and it's a mental failure. And I proved it to them. I can prove it to you right now, Kerry. If you have someone that says they're having a hard time with temptation and they keep falling off and get back on, falling off, I can cure that in one simple step, 100%. And they cannot deny it. And I'd say, all right, let's get an escrow account. I'm going to write a $25,000 check and put it in an escrow account. Then I'm going to have someone follow you every day for 30 days to make sure you eat carnivore. Do you think you'd have a problem if someone put cake in front of you, knowing there's $25,000 in that escrow account waiting for you in 30 days? Hell no. They'd be like, okay, I can give up coffee. I can give up cake. I can give up sugar because I got $25,000 in escrow account 30 days away. And they'd be counting the days, man. But they have faith in that escrow account. What they don't have faith in is carnivore. And it's understandable because every diet's failed, right? So once you get past that 30 days, I'm 100 days in, it's a lifelong thing. I had the same faith, and no one could pay me $25,000 to get off this thing. You could write me a check for $250,000. I would stay on it. I'd say, keep that check. Keep that check, man. My life is worth, what's your life worth is the question at that point.
Right.
Is your life worth $1 million? Nope. It's worth way more than that. So that's the thing. Yeah, I will do it forever because it's the only path I have. And it is the proper human diet. Once you realize that, your body tells you, man.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yeah. I'm a carnivore for life. I love how you said that too. If keto worked, I wouldn't be here right now. I did a video a couple of years ago. I did keto on and off for like 10 years. A couple of years ago, I had some really good success. I was doing keto and OMAD. It was so restrictive, but I lost weight. I got excited. I did a YouTube video. I've since pulled it down because about 4 months after that, I gained all the weight back. It wasn't sustainable. And even when I was doing it, I was like, it's working, but it's so unnatural to just one meal a day and then the strict keto kind of thing. Carnivore has been the only thing for me. This is what's so frustrating about it too, is you see loved ones that are suffering. You tell them about carnivore. What do they all say? I could never do that. It's so crazy. But once you start I thought it was crazy too, but now that I'm doing it, it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, because it's natural. You're just eating what your body is intended to eat. I don't even think about it. I eat a steak. I eat a couple of patties and some eggs, and you don't have to, it's so easy. I get so frustrated when people say that. I get it, but you see people suffering horribly. You have this thing that is so easy, and like, I could never do that.
Well, that's the $25,000 escrow check answer. When they say I could never do that, really, if I gave you $25,000 in an account and we agreed and you signed a contract, could you do it then? And they're like, yeah, I could. Okay, so you just don't want to, which is fine. Hey, that's your decision. But don't say you can't do something, because that's wrong. You can.
Right. Laura's asking, do you think a Costco membership is worth it for the savings on meat? Also, am I the only one who dreads getting my picture taken for the membership card?
I have a Costco membership and I'm single and I get all my meat there, and it's worth it for me, plus gas. Gas is really cheap there. The more people in your family, the better. I do it for me and my son. And my neighbor's single, and he does it for himself too, and he thinks it's worth it. So I'm saving a lot of money by going to Costco rather than going to the grocery store. Yeah, I think it's worth it.
I agree too. I get a lot of my meat from my neighbor. I'm very fortunate. I got grass fed. They got good prices. It's literally right down the road. But I still do get a lot from Costco as well. And yeah, it's totally worth it for me. And our nearest Costco is like 45-minute drive, and even with the drive, and because you get the savings on the gas too, like Larry mentioned, it's still totally worth it.
I'm 10 minutes away, so I'm totally spoiled. And I got that. I saw you did the sliced beef one where you put it in I forget what it's called. It's really thin sliced beef at Costco. Pack. What's it called? I forget. But
it's a weird name. I can't remember now.
I put it in a chicken broth And we ate it tonight. My brother's over. We're having a game night with his son, my son and his son, my nephew, and we had that, and my neighbor, and we had that, and it's so good, man. Chicken broth with that beef. Oh my
Right.
gosh.
Yeah.
10-minute meal. So easy, so good,
Nice.
cheap.
My go-to at Costco is I get the ribeye roast and then I cut
Yep.
it up myself, reverse sear it in the smoker. It's so good. And yeah, it just the thing I like about Costco is it seems like they vet all of their stuff very well. Like I've never bought something from Costco and been like disappointed with. They've got pretty good quality stuff there. Question: how long before you start seeing results?
Yeah, so results is a broad that's a broad category, right? Because weight is one result, and I assume that's what you're talking about. But arthritis, pain, mental anxiety, sleep patterns, not snoring. There's all kinds of results you're going to see, and they will come. And this is what's really good. I wish I would have documented. Kerry, you did it on your YouTube channel, so you got to document it as it went. I did not. I wish I would taken some kind of journal and kept track of days. And if I was just starting this now, or someone was, I would recommend doing that. Just like wake up, think about how you feel, how you wake up, what's your attitude when you wake up, that kind of stuff. And that's what my planning guide that I have that people download is about. It's kind of like getting people to think, to reflect on that. But I would say you start seeing results in the first 10 days for sure. That's when I started seeing super noticeable the results. I'm talking about losing 13, 14 pounds for me. I was at 280. I dropped down really quick and just felt way better, like more energy, more motivation to get up and do something in the morning. Just I was a slow waker. I just pop up and go now. And yeah, no more migraines. That's something that went away. I mean, all these things just start going away. You're like,
Right.
wow, how much of my life have I wasted on this standard diet? Pizza's definitely not worth that. I love pizza, but never have it again. Not in your life.
Yep. Yeah, writing it down is huge because then you'll forget all of the things that start improving. But in terms
Yeah.
of seeing results, the thing that's incredible for so many people, myself included, is usually inflammation goes away that first
Yeah.
week or 10 days or so. And that's life changing. I remember when we're filming Bill for the documentary Healing Humanity in Alaska. I think it was like a week or 10 days in, he called me. He's like, this is incredible. Like I've had pain in my knees and lower back for as long as I can remember. He's like, how is it? I'm still fat, Kerry. How is it gone? I said, inflammation. Nobody thinks about inflammation. And the other thing that happens when your inflammation goes away, any itis, arthritis, colitis, if it ends in itis, it's inflammation. So those things will start going down. But a lot of people, myself included, report snoring stopping, which was incredible to me because I thought I snored because I was fat. And I was
Yeah.
fat, but I was mostly snoring because of inflammation. Dr. Jordan Peterson famously was on Joe Rogan, and he said in the first week he stopped snoring. And I hear
Yep.
that report from so many. That's life changing alone. If you're snoring and your immune system's weak, you're tired, you're not well rested, you stop snoring in the first couple of days. That could be incredible. So yeah, Hidden Pines Homestead, it's different for everyone, but a lot of people see that inflammation going down pretty quickly and start to see results pretty
And
quickly.
you'll know it's going down because you'll be getting up to pee about 5 times a night. And that ain't no joke. So you
Yep.
gotta take some salt because that's one thing you're gonna be when you lose that inflammation, you're gonna be dumping water. That all that water weight's just there because of the inflammation.
Carnivore boss, Larry, have you had any improvements of your eyesight?
Yeah, so these are readers, and I've been practicing reading without them. And my eyesight, my eyesight was 2020. It was actually 2010 when I went in the military. I had perfect, excellent, and I've always been a marksman. But my reading, I made it to about 50, 51 before I needed readers. 51. I did pretty good. And now these are 1.5s. They're not terrible. They're not the lowest, but I can actually read right now. And if I focus, I try to get rid of my readers as much as I can when I'm, I mean, I know I kind of look like the cool, intelligent guy with the glasses, though. So I do kind of like it, but I try to go without the readers. I know I can get my eyesight better. So I think it's gotten a little better, but it's just reading. My regular eyesight's perfect. Still, it's really good.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
have
had
had people tell me their eyesight got a lot better, though.
I was gonna say I haven't had any, but I have had people tell me.
Yeah.
And Jordan Peterson, again, I know he on the Joe Rogan, he said he had floaters in his eyes for years. Those disappeared. I had someone on my live stream yesterday mention they gave the specific stats there before and after
Yeah.
eyesight. It was kind of incredible.
There's one person in our live meetup yesterday that she had amazing eyesight healing. And all the specs, I don't know the specs. I don't have bad eyesight, so I couldn't tell you, but it was amazing. Like her doctor said, that just doesn't happen. Right. And it did. So you'll hear that with a lot of things. That just doesn't happen. Tumors going away. I mean, people reversing type 2 diabetes. I don't know how many times I've heard that just doesn't happen, but eating meat, actually it does. The body's a miracle machine. If you feed it right, it will perform miracles.
Absolutely. A question for Larry. Do you think the proper human diet could find its way into the mess hall?
Yeah, I wish. And I have a video on MREs. I do work with some active duty soldiers and other not just soldiers army, but different branches. And they talk about how can we keep carnivore going when we're out in the field, when you're eating MREs and stuff. So I put together some ideas with pemmican and, not necessarily carnivore bars are very expensive, but you can buy pemmican online. It's just as good. And other things that are shelf stable that are carnivore, and how to augment. And I actually broke down all the MREs that are in the menu because they are published. And I figured out the 2 or 3 combos that you could make a ketovore-ish carnivore type meal out of if you were stuck eating them. But the chow hall, you could eat in the chow hall pretty much. We call them DFAC, dining facility. You could just selectively pick, burger patties. Those are almost always available. Or some type of meat is going to be available. A lot of times it's lean though. So I would definitely look at getting some pemmican and some other things to supplement your meals to get more fat in. Breakfast, you can always go, eggs, bacon. Tell them you're allergic to seed oil or plant oils and ask them to do it in butter, and they will if you have an allergy.
Good stuff. Triple Jim, Larry held an awesome meetup near Austin, Texas yesterday. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Good for you, man. Thank you.
I think we got this one already. Duke is indeed carnivore.
Yep.
We got, thank you, Larry, USAF vet on carnivore since June, down 40 pounds. All pain has cleared at 55. I do sprints and over 100 push-ups.
I have this to say to you and to other veterans who are watching right now or watch this later. Contact me directly at carnivoresoldier@gmail.com. If you're a veteran or first responder who is carnivore, I'd love to talk to you about your progress, share stories, and actually maybe put you on my Mission Carnivore video podcast. So I'd love to share your stories so we can encourage other brothers and sisters out there. And that's the only way we're going to get to people, by sharing a bunch of stories. I've never been in the USAF, but you have. I do have other Air Force guys on my channel, but the more we have, the better, right? So we can reach out to other groups.
Absolutely. Laura said, question, Larry, was it difficult giving up the coffee?
Yeah, of course it was. I did a substitution, and what I did was I switched to hot bone broth, beef bone broth, and I added butter and Redmond smoked salt to it to give it a little bit of a flavor, and that helped break the habit. Now, see, being in the Army, I have a benefit of knowing I can go without coffee because you get in places where you don't get coffee. That's just the way it is. When you're out in the field, you just ain't getting coffee. If you're out on patrol somewhere, you're not getting coffee, right? So people say, I could never give up coffee. Well, actually, I bet you people in Ukraine gave up coffee when they got invaded by Russia. They just took everything and put it in a backpack and walked 100 miles. And they didn't worry about not having coffee, right? So if your perspective changes, you can give up anything, and you'd be surprised at what you can adopt to. But I would just say, yeah, just you're going to have a headache probably. Suck it up, drive on, get through it. Like I said, make that $25,000 escrow deal with yourself that at the end of 30 days, you're going to have that $25,000 check, and drive on and do it. Make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something liberating about carnivore too when you have no more addictions. I never had coffee, but I had diet soda, but now I have nothing. There's nothing that controls me. I'm in total control. It's something about that.
Yeah, when I used to go to movies, I was a large Diet Coke and popcorn every time, and one in each hand, and for decades. And my son, I told this story yesterday at the live meet. My son's like, "Yep, that was Dad." It's like, now I go with just a bottle of water, if anything. And I felt so naked the first, I don't know, 5 times I went to a movie without my drink and popcorn. It was weird.
We read this one already, but one more time. Who's your carnivore? Brett. Hey, everyone, really love what Larry is doing. Who's your carnivore? Peter. Shout out Brett. This guy's a legend. Just did 12-day fast.
Yes, he's cool.
Amazing. Denise, thank you so much. New member.
Nice.
Anyone that joins and becomes a member on my channel, we do member only live stream, and every penny we get goes right towards the documentary we're working on. And you got members on your channel too, right, Larry?
Yeah, I do. I've got about 5 members now, and basically any money that get from this channel, I don't do this channel for money. It's a passion project. This money all goes to helping me get the message out to veterans. So I pay for subscriptions and equipment and travel. Like yesterday, I raffled away a bunch of carnivore soldier stuff and just gave it out to people that showed up. And that's where the money goes. I'm not making really, it's like $400 a month. It's not like a lot of money, but I have a real career on the side and a retirement, so I'm good. Awesome. But if you want to join a membership and support the channel, you're supporting what I'm doing.
Izzy asks, when is the next meetup in Austin?
That will probably be at the KetoCon. It'll probably be in the spring. So
yeah, we'll have to talk. Larry and I were talking about that a little bit before. I'm going to be at KetoCon. A bunch of carnivore friends. Well, a bunch of people, of course, are going to KetoCon too. But yeah, maybe we could do some sort of meetup then. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be great.
Shout out Fred. Awesome interview, Kerry. Shout out to the Chief. Let's go.
Yeah, all right, Fred. He's an Army guy. He's also fighting cancer right now. Poor guy lives out in the West Indies, I think, on some tropical island, just living the life. But he is fighting cancer, but he's got all the tools now. And he's obviously very optimistic because he knows probably more about cancer than most doctors treating it do these days.
I did a cancer live stream last night with Ronnie Campbell, who overcame stage 4 cancer. And I think Fred was on that one or the earlier one with some really good questions. Good stuff. Hey, Carnivore Cheer, Lori, do mess halls and bases serve butter or do they serve margarine?
I'm pretty sure we had butter when I was in. That's what I remember. I don't think they had margarine. But I'm not sure anymore. I didn't really eat in the mess halls a lot because I was an officer, so I would go out and get real food if I could. What I considered real food, a burger and fries or whatever. I would go out off base a lot of times, but I think they have butter though.
Josephine said, "What beef cut would make the best beef jerky?"
I actually get really thin cut ribeyes. You can buy them sometimes in some restaurants or some grocery stores, and I pound them flat and I dehydrate them, and then I seal them in a vacuum sealer, and those make great, and salt them. That's all I do, and they make great jerky. That's what I do. Nice.
I got to do another jerky. I did one way early on. I think I did like Top Round or something.
Did you dehydrate it?
Yeah.
Dehydrate it? Yeah. It's pretty easy.
Yep. Okay. Question: how do you respond to people who say you can't get all your vitamins and nutrients from meat?
I would say this, that you definitely can, and you can show them videos of Dr. Berry or Dr. Chafee. If that was true, we wouldn't be here, because there were no vitamin and nutrient companies out there making things when animals were eating just meat, like when our ancestors were. And you can look in history. The anthropologists have determined that there are tribes that were carnivore and tribes that weren't. And you can actually look at modern carnivore tribes. There's a lot of them around the world. We always look at the Inuit and the Maasai because they are, but they don't. They get all their nutrients from meat. There's no scientific facts behind it saying you're not going to get your vitamins and nutrients. And the RDA numbers we see are based on people eating a mixed diet of meat and plants. And plants have a lot of anti-nutrients and a lot of nutrients that aren't bioavailable. So you have to add a lot more. I think Dr. Chafee was talking about vitamin C, saying if you're a carnivore, you only need nanograms of vitamin C. But if you're an omnivore, you need milligrams, which is like 1 million times more. So I don't have scurvy. I don't take any vitamin C at all. And all I eat is meat. I don't eat any other fruits or plants. You can look at any of these, like Maggie, 40 years or 60 years carnivore, never eat, and she's not dying of any diseases. So yeah, I'd say that's just turn them on to some stories and some people that the doctors are probably the best play. Just say, hey, listen, why don't you go check this out?
Yep. Yeah, I'd agree. The chemistry of a carnivore is completely different. Like Larry said, none of us have scurvy. Why is that? Because the chemistry.
My teeth aren't falling out yet.
Right.
In fact, my teeth are stronger than ever. They look fantastic.
Yeah. Another benefit of carnivore. You get that inflammation down, no more bloody gums, no more toothaches. Thoughts about butcher boxed meat? I don't have any thoughts on that. I haven't tried that out. I'm not sure.
I tried it out once when I was keto, and the food was fine, but it was just, I thought, kind of expensive. So I Costco's cheaper, I think, and it's more convenient for me. So that's my thoughts.
And we got Fred as a new member. Awesome. And
All
Josephine,
right.
thank you. And it looks like we got one more question here from Andy. Did you know Dr. Sean Baker is a USAF vet?
Yes, I do. He was actually, I think he was AMED. Well, in the Army, we call him AMED, which he was a doctor and a surgeon, I believe. So I do know he's a vet. But I mean, not to say someone's service is different than others, but AMED are different. They're a different breed. I worked in a medical company for 4 years. I was the NBC NCO for a medical support company, and we had, ambulances, and we had 68 whiskeys, which is your medics, and we had doctors and X-ray techs and all that. So we had like all the stuff for setting up a field hospital, right? And the officers that were doctors and dentists and stuff, they're just they're not the same kind of veteran. I mean, they still are. We still, link up with it, but they don't live the same military life we do. I mean, they experience a lot of the same things, but it's different, right? And but yeah, he was a USAF vet, and I don't diminish his service at all. I know he saw a lot of terrible stuff. He's seen a lot of things in hospitals that are awful, but it's just when you talk about AMED, they have a different path in the military, just like chief warrant officers or chaplains do, or O grade officers. So it's just a different experience. But yeah, I know he's a vet, and I haven't talked about interviewing him yet or thought about it, but maybe, I know he's pretty busy, but that would be an interesting interview with him, I think.
I was just going to ask you, so you haven't been on his podcast yet?
I have not, no.
If you're interested, I'd be happy to send him a little email. I did the same with Jeff, my buddy Jeff DeProsperous, and they're like, yeah, we'll talk to him. I bet you he'd love to talk to you. If people haven't read Dr. Baker's book, he wrote the book on it's a great book, and just the intro, the beginning is like his autobiography. It's crazy, his life up until this point, all sorts of stuff. It's really, really good stuff. But yeah, maybe after this, Larry, I'll shoot you an email with that if you're interested.
That'd be cool.
I think that'd be a really interesting conversation. Awesome. Let me see. I think, one last comment. I love this talk about carnivore and veterans. I'm a USA Army combat infantryman. Carnivore is one of the best things that's happened to me.
11 Bravo, dude, hook me up. Shoot me an email. Definitely want to talk to you about that. Yeah, those are our door kickers. Those are our bang bang guys. Those are the front. They're the tip of the spear for sure. So yeah, and it works. The thing is, I mean, the suicide rate. People talk about it being PTSD. PTSD is one of the drivers, like relationships, like money issues, like legal issues. These are all, but it's that fulcrum moving that's made the difference. And here's another reason I know that is because actually the bulk of our suicides are people that didn't even deploy. Believe it or not, if you didn't know that, the bulk of our suicides in the military today are people that have never deployed. So there's no PTSD there. What there is the same. PTSD is just another trigger. Separation from the military is a trigger. People separate from the military for law enforcement. They commit suicide shortly after a lot of times. And this is just another trigger. So, but I hear it over and over. The PTSD changes, the anxiety, the stress, it all goes away, and people can really take their lives back.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, Larry, thank you so much. This has been great. I'm so thankful for you and everything you're doing. I'm going to keep shouting about what Larry's doing from the rooftops and trying to get the word out. So I encourage everyone watching my channel, first of all, go subscribe to Larry's channel. It's Carnivore Soldier. I have a link in the description below. You also have a website, carnivoresoldier.com. Is there anywhere else people can find you or anything else you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm on X or Twitter as Carnivore 6. And anyone in the military knows that a 6 means you're the commanding officer when you put your number at the end of your call sign. So my call sign on Twitter is Carnivore 6. And I'm Carnivore Soldier at Instagram. And Facebook, I'm also Carnivore Soldier. So look for me there. I have a group on Facebook too called the Carnivore Diet Exchange. And it's called that because it's a place we exchange ideas about the carnivore diet.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Larry. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, all your questions, and have a good night. Bye.
Bye, guys.